So one of the things that I've created, and I created it just kind of by accident. I read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. Everybody should read Atomic Habits. And I was at the time working with a lot of elite lacrosse athletes that were going to private schools out east, and man, they didn't have time to work out. I was giving them optimal workouts, and they didn't have time. So what I did is I came up with the smallest possible workout that could possibly improve their speed, and I think it will. And it just has a great hook. I can say you can do this in 15 minutes and it only takes 60 seconds. 15 minutes of time, 60 seconds of work. Now that's a great hook. I mean, can you get out of the house twice a week and do the atomic speed workout? It's small, but it's powerful. And kids would say, heck yeah, that sounds great. So what we do in that workout is we do 10 speed drills. We do a fast march. We do A-skips. We do high knees. We do box jumps. We do bounding. We do pogo jumps. We do prime times, short ones, big ones, and bent knee prime times. And then we accelerate to top speed. And then we run 2 sprints. That's it. Now, if you want to do our full workout, then you do 3. And shoot, if you want to do 4 or 5, I've never said no to a 4th or 5th sprint. Now, if you want to see what that atomic speed workout looks like, it's on my YouTube. It's easy to find. Just look up atomic speed workout. It's really gotten to be a big thing. There's a heck of a lot of football teams that have incorporated that into their warm-up, or actually replaced their long, slow, tiring, pre-fatiguing work or warm-up, and they're doing this instead, which allows them to time sprints and the guys stay healthy and all that stuff. It's really become a part of sprint-based football. And of course, we time with free lap. By the way, when we run sprints, we must take 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a long time between timed sprints. But if you're doing 10 speed drills in 10 minutes, 2 timed sprints with 5 minutes rest, that's 15 total minutes. And that's 60 seconds of work. So I think it's a great way to form a habit. And that's what Atomic Habits is all about. Starting small and developing a consistency. So our X Factor work, this is where things get interesting. Our speed workouts are fairly boring because we're repetitive. And before you dismiss me for not knowing what I'm talking about, like, oh, he's way too repetitive. Well, you got to be repetitive shooting the basketball. If you're a basketball player, you got to be repetitive with throwing and hitting as a baseball player. You got to be repetitive in tackling, catching passes and stuff in football. We have to repeat the things that are essential. And sprinting is essential. But I also understand the other half of the coin. And that is that we must learn how to adapt to new stimulus. And that's what we do with X Factor. X Factor, originally, when I coined this phrase for a workout, obviously I didn't make up the word X Factor, but 20 years ago, I called workouts where we were going to do different types of exercises. We are going to stay extremely varied, and that X really to me meant unknown. That the kids were going to come in and they didn't know what in the hell we're going to do that day. They just knew it was going to be a lot of different types of things. But X also really sounds like the start of the word exercise. So these are days that we don't sprint, but we do exercises that we have a reasonable hunch will be good for getting fast. So the first thing, of course, jumps and bounds and skips. These are things that fast guys do pretty good. So we do a lot of these things. Sometimes we get the just jump mat out. And if you've ever done this, you'll find out that guys, they'll jump 10 times. If you jump 10 times as high as you can, that's a workout. So testing becomes training, training becomes testing. By the way, guys that jump 38 inches like that will probably be the fastest guy on your team. Well, if that's the case, then the guys jumping 24, I think we need to get them jumping higher. That's X Factor. We do straight-legged jumps called pogo jumps. We're working on not just jumping and power here, but also a bounce. My dad used to say, my dad was a basketball coach 47 years, and one of his favorite things to say about great players is that they were bouncy. I love a bouncy player. Yeah, because bouncy players jump well, they're fast, they're good athletes. Bounce. Here's another example of bounce. Big, strong hurdler, and he's just bouncing over imaginary boxes. This is much more of a tuck jump where the knees come up to the chest. We're jumping really high. This is much more of a power thing, but it's also that we want to get off the ground. We want to land and jump at the same time, which I always learned was the definition of a plyometric, landing and jumping at the same time. Now we use what we have. Like if we have a ramp, like out the football field, we'll do pogo jumps up the ramp. We'll do diagonal bounds where we stick the landing. Learning this collision that happens between your lower body and the track, this collision is really important. It helps to create strength and stiffness in the sprinter. And so we do a lot of force absorption type stuff like this. This is diagonal. We also do straight line, bound and stick, where we go as high and as far as we can, and then we try to stick the landing and rebalance. Now, you see a lot of people standing around watching. You'd probably be appalled at how much standing around and watching we do on X Factor days, because we want to really minimal dose it, because on almost every X Factor day, we have a sprint day the next day. Sometimes we bound and do funky things with our hands, like putting them up above our head. And what this does is really work on the core and the lateral sling. This kid actually, when we're doing this, I said, I want you to bound and put your hands above your head. And he looked at me like, what? Well, that's what X Factor is. We're learning to do new things. Now, this kid's an all-stater. And so he adapted pretty quick. Now, if you take a freshman who most freshmen can't bound, and say, put your hands over your head and bound, they're going to look silly. But we still want to expose all those kids to new things. We want to measure things. If you want to change the way kids perform, video, sometimes I fake video. I pick up my camera, my phone, and I pretend to be videoing them doing something, and they'll go farther, jump higher, run faster, because they think they're on camera. Another thing that you can do is compete. Another thing you can do is measure. Time something, or here we're going to measure bounds. Now, sometimes we do single-legged bounds. Let's see if we can get this going here. This is just a regular bound. This kid caught a touchdown pass for Bowling Green last week. Nice athlete. But if you say, we want to measure how far you can go in 6 months, and we put like pylons out, for 40 feet, 50 feet, and and at each interval, so that we don't have to get a tape measure out. So I just think that anytime you can make training a more game-like by measuring something, it really helps. Oh, here's a single-legged bound. Actually, we're competing too, but one guy didn't get the memo here, so he started real late, so it's not much of a competition. But this is a single-legged bound. Now, we do this with like freshmen, even though they're terrible at it. And both of these guys, when they were freshmen, they were terrible too. But because they were exposed to it, and because they saw older guys doing it well, they eventually get good at it. And we just found that the people that bound in powerful ways are faster than guys that bound poorly. We do a triple broad jump. You can make stuff up here. It's like it's not that hard. So in this case, we have a guy. We are going to two-footed, and we're going to roll through each one. And if you get somebody that can triple broad jump 31.6, they're probably going to be an all-state jumper. They're probably fast. If you get a guy jumping further, he is getting faster and more explosive. So that's why we do these things. There's something we made up called the star drill, where we jump up in the air and we look like we're making a star. There's force absorption here. There's power. And even if this is a worthless exercise, if you do it a couple times a month, it's probably not going to have a major detrimental effect. So we're really free to try things. Upward bounding. Now, if you don't have concrete stairs, like an outdoor stadium like this guy does, don't do this. But if you have it, man, if you have sturdy stairs, there's a lot of good things you can do. Now, you don't try to condition on those stairs. Use those stairs for the upward explosive stuff. By the way, I always like to ask, do you think this guy's fast? I don't even know who this guy is. I think he's in Europe somewhere. But I guarantee you, he's fast. Almost all of these drills, you can say, man, that's athletic. Well, if it's really athletic, let's get good at it. Here's a standing triple jump. Triple jump is one of the most advanced things we do. We jump off of 2 feet. We're going to land left. And then we're going to land right. And then we're going to land on 2. And if you get a guy going 29 feet on a standing triple jump, he's probably going to go 45 in the real triple jump with a big run in. And guys that go 45 in the triple jump are pretty good athletes. By the way, they found that so many wide receivers in football in the NFL has had a triple jump or long jump background in track and field. Everybody knows they're fast, but it seems to be almost more prevalent to see horizontal jumpers that really become great wide receivers. We make stuff up. One day we said, okay, we're going to skip, but we're not going to do a normal skip. We're going to race, and I'm going to make you skip left, and then right. Once again, their brain is like, say what, coach? What are we doing? Once again, exposing. Now, I'm not showing you the videos of the guys that look stupid doing this. And I guarantee you there are those guys. But those guys grow into sophomores. And sophomores grow into juniors. And so a regular diet of these types of things on days that we don't sprint, I think is really good for kids. I'm shocked at the level of lack of coordination that I see with incoming freshmen. But I say that, but I've changed schools twice in my 43-year career. And both times I changed schools, I went to a much larger school. And in that first year at the larger school that had more good athletes, it was shocking at how uncoordinated their juniors and seniors were, because they'd never done stuff like this. You know what they do? They're really good at lifting hard and doing really hard conditioning. They did nothing fast. They did nothing that looked like this, ever. They just did strength and conditioning. That's all they did. And so they left so much athleticism on the table. Booms are just, a rhythm thing. It's a high knee thing. It's a snappy thing. And of course, we can go boom, 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 boom. We're also working on that foot being in front of the body and the toe up, that dorsiflexed toe. Now we're going to go single booms. Just snapping on each one, pausing, balance, working on our hands. And then we've made this up recently. We called it boom, 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 skip, skip. And, the guy, looks at me and goes, Coach, what is, I go, well, try it. Boom, 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 skip, skip. Boom, 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 skip, skip. Boom, 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 skip, skip. We're big on wickets. Here, these are 6-inch wickets that are 6 feet apart. We sprint in. They're all equal distant, 6 inches tall, 6 foot spaced. This guy's from the Bahamas. He came up and trained with me for a week, and he's about 6'5". So he probably could have gone over 7 foot spacers, but he did just fine with that. Now you'll see the wickets are down. I do that a lot of time with groups because I don't like to set the wickets back up. And what I found is that guys will still go over these wickets like they were barriers. So we sprint in. If you see the guy standing way down, like 20 yards away, that's where they start, and they sprint in, and then they'll go over these trying to be big in the front, which means that knee up in front of the body, the foot out in front of the body, the foot dorsiflexed. And then, of course, we never want to be long in the back. We want to get from toe off to knee up as quickly as possible. And that's what it looks like. And the whole line goes through, and then we go the reverse direction. And every time we go over one of those wickets, it looks like this. That's what it looks like. And that's what a sprinter looks like. They are big in the front. They're short in the back. That angle of the thighs is pretty big, a big split of the thighs. And it is tilted to the front of the body. Joggers don't look like this. This is how sprinters look. Joggers look like they have T-Rex arms. A sprinter's hand goes past his hips like it does, like Jalen Gavon is doing here. And it's amazing when you go over a barrier. This is my grandson about 3 years ago when he was only 3 years old. First time he's ever gone over something like this. And it's just amazing. He got big in the front, foot out in front of the body. He's short in the back. It's a big split. Wickets have a way of teaching kids how to run. Now you have to give them those cues. I've seen cross-country kids go through wickets, and I can't believe how poorly they do it. Now, our kids have really gotten great at it because we're like 15th in the nation this year, second in the state, and we're just terrific athletes now. And they've done so much of this X Factor type of stuff. They do the wickets, they do the med balls, they do all of our stuff. And then they run a lot too. Now, when we go through, we like to do things with our hands. Here's a hands high thing. You didn't see him run in. He runs in normal, puts his hands up at the last second. We love that. And then we go do a lot of other things like that. I'll save you. You can find those things or ask me later. But here are timed wickets. Remember, if you video and time stuff, guys will go pretty hard. I'll show you that again. That went pretty fast. We're timing with free lap. Those things are 6 inches high, 6 feet apart. Or we could do competition wickets. Once again, competition and video, pretty good. We could have gone competition video and timing. That would have been great too. I don't know about you, but that looks fun to me. There's a lot of stuff that I had to do in practice that is almost like the coach said, we're not going to have any fun ever in practice. Here's competition wickets on turf. We started the goal line, very short run in, so we kept the wickets at 5 feet. And you may say, well, how do you know how far to put it? Just try something. Try something and do it. We do a lot of hip mobility things. We've been doing this. This video is about 20 years old. There's an all-state hurdler I had, and just extreme focus. I've seen so many people do things like this, but without focus and sloppy and all that. This kid was a technician. He just cared. And of course, what I would do is if I was showing the team how to do it, I'd say, Cole, show everybody. Let's show it. And so he would rub off on everybody else. More hip mobility. We're just stepping over. These are called over-overs. Here's an aggressive over-over. I love this. We just invented this last year. So yeah, it's over-over, but we're like in a hurry to get through. We're like kind of frenetic with our pace. Lateral walkovers with rhythm. So many kids have really tight hips. We're just making kids into better athletes here. We do leg swings. We don't do them to warm up. We do them for performance. As high as we can in the front, as high as we can in the back. We grab a little ground as we swing through, and we go until we get tired. I think this guy will go about 7 seconds, 8 seconds maybe, and says, okay, I'm going to have to rest. How long do you rest in between? Enough. Enough to go hard on the next one. See, he's going just as fast on this one. You've got to rest enough. You cannot cram the things together and then say, I want a good effort. That's all you're going to get is an effort. You're not going to get a good performance. And effort does not lead to high performance. High performance leads to high performance. We do big split drills. These are things where our legs split apart because sprinters' legs split apart when they run. This is called the long lunge. This is called the snappy lunge. This guy ran 10.71 in the 100, so he has a leg that can really snap through. The ability to be elastic in something like this, where you can go from back leg to front leg in like a tight rubber band, is really important for sprinting. Here's our TFC presenter and good friend Rob Assisi doing a extreme iso lunge. If you've never read his article written, he called himself OG Static Work because he used a couple bad words in it. But anyway, this guy, he would do like 5 minutes each leg, and there's magical things that happen when you do isometrics. Isos are just fantastic. No soreness the next day. We do these for 30 seconds. Here's somebody doing it for about 30 seconds, but I want you to see the shake. There's some crazy co-contractions going on there. See the heels up a little bit. We're straight up and down with the shin, straight up and down with the torso. We go about 30 seconds, and then we'll switch. Here's an ISO we're doing with the foot. We learned this. Chris Corfus is probably the world expert on strong feet for sprinters. And this is an ISO. We're just trying to get up as high as we possibly can go. I think this is actually a video. Yeah, it is. You can't see much except for the shake here. But he's up on his toe. A lot of times our guys will take off their shoes. It allows them to get up on their toes a little more. Now, if guys aren't strong enough to do this single leg, we go double leg. And usually we say 2 fingers on the wall just to give us a little bit of support. We don't want the whole hand on the wall, but this is hard, and we try to go 30 seconds on each foot. Now we're in a squat position, and we're up on our toes. See how he has 1 finger? And we got a little shake going on. This is for that ankle and foot complex. We got a lot of shaking going on there. Crazy. It's amazing that guy's not trying to do that. That's the body co-contracting and doing all kinds of magical things. We do Russian lunges where we bounce, 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 and switch. Bounce, 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 switch. I've been told by Brad Fortney that some of his sprinters are doing these Russian lunges before a sprint and have found they sprint faster, which means these things might be a magical potentiator of speed. One of our favorite things, we got this from Chris Corfus. He called them marshals because Marshall Ellis used to do them before he'd run a sprint. Once again, I wonder why Marshall was doing these before a sprint. A potentiator of speed. He'd do 2 or 3 of these each way, and then he'd get into the blocks and run faster than he's ever run in his life. So we are jumping up and getting into a lunge position. That's why I call them an air lunge. We are jumping into, it's a lot easier than naming them after somebody named Marshall Ellis. So, I like to say that with X Factor stuff, we work on bounce, snap, power, big split, and hardwiring. I really think this air lunge checks 4 of the boxes. There's a bounce, there's a snap, there's power, and there's a big split. By the way, slow guys can't do this. I promise you, slow guys cannot do this. So if slow guys can't do this, let's get better at it. Let's get that offensive tackle doing things like this. Let's get athletic. Let's stop just having them squat and then run till they throw up. Because we have portable bleachers, we do bleacher drills. This is called a depth jump, where we step off of like a 30-inch bleacher, I think it is. And then here we're jumping over a 42-inch hurdle. Now, a lot of your guys can't jump over a 42-inch hurdle. You may have to have a wicket down there, or maybe nothing at all. You just try to land and jump at the same time and jump up. We also sometimes do a depth jump into a broad jump. Those are really cool too. Obviously here it's all about a vertical jump, a tuck jump after hitting the ground. And we are hitting the ground and responding to the ground. I love those. Sometimes we put 2 hurdles up. You could put 3 or 4. Seated pop-ups, we just invent stuff. Like, okay, why don't you sit down and pick up your feet and then hit the ground real hard and go up in the air. And if we don't like it, we just don't do it anymore. If we like it, we'll probably video it and say, let's remember to do that again someday. But we want to expose ourselves to all kinds of different things. If we think bouncing is important, let's figure out ways to bounce. Just bouncing. And we're using that top leg to kind of get us a little bit higher. We're just reacting to the ground and getting off the ground. If you think about it, that's what we do when we sprint. We don't spend much time on the ground. We bounce off the ground. We like to absorb force. We've talked about that before. And here, once our kids get good at this, and some of your kids will not be able to just walk off and stick a landing. But, when kids are like D1 wide receivers, they get to the point where they can stick a landing from like a 360. And Jalen was a very good athlete. And sometimes we've had guys that have done backflips and stick landings. But anytime you can stick a landing, basically that means when your feet hit the ground, and we want the entire foot hitting the ground. We don't want to land on the toes. We want as much balance as we can. Basically, when your feet hit the ground, we want the entire body to stop, to stick the landing. A lot of people just cave in every time, or they have some weird pop-up reflex where they hit and then pop up, or they fall backwards or fall forwards. So I don't care if they are bad with it. We still want to get better. Med balls are fantastic. Here we're just doing, this is probably our favorite, just a high med ball throw. This guy's throwing 14 pounds. He does a pretty good job with it. We want to throw it as high as we possibly can. We want to finish with the hips. Let's show you how he finishes with the hips here. Full extension. You can do all the stuff you want in the weight room, but if you're not doing some of this stuff too, I think you're missing a lot. I don't think, I think it's a little bit different than the things that you get in the weight room. We do wall busters. This is rotational. You say, well, gee, there's nothing really rotational in track, is there? Well, we want to create athletes, and athletes are rotationally strong. Get kind of dizzy watching that. We call them wall busters because we're trying to knock down the wall. We do push-pull type stuff. This may not make us faster, but when we come out in acceleration, our brain has to accept the fact that we are diagonal, that we are not straight up and down. Because if the brain doesn't get used to this, there could be a stumble reflex where you step out in front of yourself and all of a sudden you're not accelerating anymore. So this is really brain training as much as anything. We call them 1, 2, 3, 4s because we do 1, 2, 3, 4. How long do we do it? Until we're a little bit tired. We're not trying to get in shape. Period. By the way, we do get in shape. We get in shape by doing this stuff, but that's not our goal. Just like I say that not one time all winter do we do an aerobic focused workout. But my guys are in damn good aerobic shape at the end, going into their track season. So just because you don't have an aerobic focus does not mean you won't have aerobic benefits from stacking together this type of work, stacking together anaerobic work. Obviously, this is a resisted acceleration. We like this. No machines involved. Somebody said, hey, there's like sleds that you can do. Shut up. I mean, I coach 37 guys, and we have like 2 sleds in the school. And they're a pain to get out. And, this works pretty good. But if you want to push sleds, do it. I know there's a lot of research that says pushing heavy sleds are great, but there are always guys that have never coached a track team. These guys that do all their research and stuff, it just kills me because they wouldn't be able to do my job. So, take this, I think I like, I like the body position that this girl's in. That is a really good acceleration position. I think, it makes sense. But I think you can get really fast and get good acceleration too. You can also pull things. I know Brian Kula doesn't think that you should ever pull more than 20% body weight. And I think they usually, with like McCaffrey, they usually do less than that even. And, this makes sense. I like the body angle in this diagram. We just don't do it. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means that maybe you can be pretty damn good without doing it. I guarantee you this. I've never seen a great sprinter who was bad in acceleration, that got smoked by slow guys in the first 30 meters. It just doesn't happen. The same CNS that controls max speed controls the muscle firing of acceleration. Now, if you may say, well, I don't agree with his X factor stuff because I don't see enough change of direction. Well, do it then. Just do it. What the beautiful thing about X Factor is that you are free to try things. There's never an X Factor workout ever that I don't make something up. I want to make something up. And if I like it, I'll video it and put it on Twitter. If I don't like it, we just won't do it again. And it doesn't hurt us. It probably helps us. We tried something. We got exposed to something that our brain was like, I don't know what in the hell I'm doing right now. So, I saw one time, I used to bring my head football coach out, the previous head football coach, and he would help me on X Factor days. And I looked down one time and he had like a double hula hoop, and he was doing like figure 8 races around the double hula hoop. And, I might think, well, that's really not a track and field. I liked it though. I liked it. It's like, we want to expose our guys to stuff that's hard to do, that is intense, that lasts about 5 to 10 seconds, and then we recover enough that we can go hard again. We're not trying to get them tired so that all they got to give is effort. That's not what we're trying to do. We are trying to build very intense, high quality athletic things. And people say, well, how many sets and reps? I don't know. Sometimes we do 20 things in an X Factor workout. Sometimes we might do 10. Sometimes we might do 40. Total reps, I don't know. If we're throwing a med ball, we might do, like 30 reps of a med ball. But if we're doing bounding, we're not going to do 30 bounds because, then it burns the steak and we don't run well the next day. So all those things, I just think that, you're free. You're free. Remember that 90% of an X Factor workout is standing around. And the main thing, it should be a light, like a neon sign going off in your head. Don't burn the steak. Don't burn the steak. Don't burn the steak. Because the alternative to an X Factor workout is no practice. Go home and take a nap. So if we're doing an X Factor workout, we want to make a profit. Now that profit may be a couple bucks, but if you make a profit every day, you'll never go broke.